I don't think this week of football needs much of an introduction. If you're any sort of fan, you'll know exactly what went down on Sunday, as the Red Devils were humiliated by Liverpool. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is definitely not the right man for the job, but will he be given a chance to continue? Here's the overview. Friday night saw the return of Emi Martinez to his former club Arsenal. In a match where Emile Smith-Rowe starred, the Gunners won with goals from the youngster, Partey and Aubameyang, but Jacob Jumty scored a consolation goal to make the full-time score 3-1. Continuing on with London clubs, Chelsea against Norwich saw the Blues thump the Canaries 7-0 with a hat-trick from Mason Mount, as well as goals from Hudson-Odoi, an own goal by Max Aarons, Reece James and a third in 3 Premier League games for Chilwell, the left-back doing exceptionally well in terms of goals this season. Ben Gibson of Norwich was also sent off in the 65th minute. After a second yellow card, it seemed like the loss of Werner and Lukaku would be an issue for Tuchel, but he managed significantly well without them. This cements their place at the top of the table for now and boosts their goal difference to plus 20 already, with only 9 games played so far in the season, having conceded only 3. Chelsea defensively are on point. Norwich, on the other hand, have scored only 2 and conceded 23, and it seems like I'm always saying they're headed right back down. Hope is trickling away for Farke's men. Crystal Palace played Newcastle, and it saw a 1-1 draw in which a late Benteke goal was ruled out by VAR. Having said this, Benteke did bag an earlier goal, but Callum Wilson scored a great overhead kick to equalise. Leeds against Wolves saw Wang Ki-chan score in the first 10 minutes to put them 1 goal up, and it seemed like Leeds would almost definitely lose as Rafinha came off injured in the 54th minute. Along with that, Bamford was still not included in the squad due to his ongoing injury. Yet in the 94th minute, Bielsa's men were awarded a penalty after a foul conceded by Semedo. Rodrigo converted it and the points were shared as the game ended 1-1. Along to Merseyside, where Everton faced Watford. The Toffees scored first, but Josh King equalised 10 minutes after, and it was 1-1 going into half-time, until the 63rd minute when Richarlison headed in the lead. But Watford scored 4 after the 78th minute, with Josh King, who was previously an Everton player just only last season, scoring a hat-trick upon his return to the club. A nightmare for all Everton fans. Watford won 5-2, which is a huge result against Benitez's men. St Mary's Stadium was visited by Burnley, where 2 goals by former Chelsea players, one alone from there, were counted with 2 from Burnley's Maxwell Cornet, which produced a result of 2-2. Tino Livramento and Armando Broja both scored for the Saints, but this wasn't enough for the win, as Sean Dyche's only signing in the summer managed a brace. Late Saturday night, Brighton welcomed Manchester City, although they were not met with any grace, as Pep's men beat them 4-1, with goals from Foden, who scored 2, Ilkay Gundogan and Riyad Mahrez, who scored in the 95th minute, whilst Brighton's only goal was a penalty from McAllister in the 81st. A London derby took place at the West Ham Stadium as they played Spurs, and 20 shots from both sides altogether meant nothing as Mikel Antonio scored from a corner to give the Hammers a 1-0 win, and they now sit in 4th, 2 points above 5th and 6th. This start to the season has been an absolute dream for David Moyes. Next week, Manchester United play Spurs, and if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still the manager, both Nuno and him will be under huge amounts of pressure. Brentford against Leicester saw the Foxes win 2-1 after a stunner from Tielemans in the 14th minute was cancelled out by Jorgensen in the 60th, but Maddison tapped in a Daka pass in the 74th. On to the final game of the week in the Premier League, as Manchester United welcomed Liverpool at Old Trafford. Hype had been building all week, And while my prediction was 0-0, I was far from the result. Questionable actions from Ole was that he started the match with the same lineup that went 2-0 down to Atalanta. Yet Klopp's side had no Mane, no Fabinho, no Matip, and Kanate was making his Premier League debut. It seemed like Man United had the upper hand in what some considered to be the biggest fixture of the Premier League campaign. But 2 goals within 13 minutes meant that Liverpool had already a comfortable cushion, and 2 more added before half-time from Mo Salah meant it was 4-0 going into half-time, which, for the record, is the most Manchester United have ever been down at half-time during any Premier League season. Absolute shambolic defending from the Red Devils, especially Harry Maguire, who was having one of the worst seasons he's ever had. And despite having one of the best transfer windows, if not the best, it seems like Man United are heading downhill. What was meant to be the accumulation of years of hard work has instead produced more torment for fans everywhere. But the punishment was not over, as Salah scored early in the second half to make it a hat-trick, the first away player to score one at Old Trafford in Premier League history. And Paul Pogba, despite only having come on at half-time, was sent off for a studs-up tackle on Keita. This means that the Frenchman is unavailable for the matches against Spurs, Manchester City and Watford. Ronaldo scored, but it was ruled offside, and it ended 5-0, a horror show for all Man United fans all around the world. At current time, Ole is still the manager, but is it time for the player to be finally separated from the manager and for him to go? Will this solve the issues, or are there deeper issues? Let me know in the comment section down below. In other matches this week, Ajax battered PSV 5-0 too, as they increased their lead at the top of the Eredivisie. PSG drew to Marseille 0-0, and Hakimi was sent off. You have to say, this is not the result PSG were expecting, with a front four of Di Maria, Mbappe, Neymar and Messi. Juventus also drew to Inter Milan, as Dybala scored a penalty in the 89th minute upon his return, to make it 1-1, after Jaco put Inter ahead in the 17th minute. El Clasico saw Real Madrid win 2-1, but it wasn't all bad at the Camp Nou, as Aguero came on to score his first goal for the club, hopefully the first of many. And that concludes this week's action of derbies and emotion. The Carabao Cup is midweek, and some big games include Chelsea against Southampton, Arsenal against Leeds and West Ham against Man City. I think Chelsea will beat Southampton 3-0, Arsenal will beat Leeds 3-1, and West Ham will concede defeat to Man City by scoring none, but Gabriel Jesus getting a double to make it 2-0. That's all for this week, but don't forget to like and subscribe the video. But until next time, goodbye.